Loud and clear there, Ned.
Great.
Excellent.
So yeah, sneaky. Do you also do the I freeze in place? And but there it is. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. It feels like we've got a really interesting group today from all over. Looking forward to getting to know you each better. Again, this is AI&Us, a human conversation, an initiative that that Brenda from the Village and myself from Samazo felt was a thing that's needed, which is just a chance for us to connect around all of the crazy stuff going on with artificial intelligence right now from a human perspective. So less of a focus on we need to understand the technological a little bit, but less of a focus on that and more on what are our experiences of it, what are our hopes and fears and ideas around it, and that's kind of where our focus is having a chance to talk about that and share our stories. So I'll turn things over to you, Brenda, if you want to introduce our topic for today and facilitate.
Sounds great. Hi, y'all. Really great to see you. We're doing these calls now every 2 weeks, and it's so much fun, despite the intensity of the topic. It's so great to be together, and that's really so much what I'm all about, which is bringing us together to connect more deeply and to feel our common humanity, and be there for each other, to support each other. And there are some days when I look at what's going on in the world of artificial intelligence where I really feel like, you know, we must dig into our humanity and our connection to each other more. As we face this, you know, extraordinary time where things are moving at a pace we've never known. So I'm so glad to see you here, and also love the mix of people here. If Santosh, hello, Santosh is with us from India. Harundel, I'm not sure.
Yeah, hello.
In video. Hi, Santosh, great to have you.
Hello, Brenda.
And
Nice to
Melinda,
see you.
so great to have you. I don't know if you're still in Kenya, but how wonderful you are. Yes. So we've got people in different places, which is always so exciting for me. Okay, so I want to start just with quickly going around a little introduction. I usually ask for 3 words to describe yourself. 3 words personally, 3 words professionally, no one's forced to do anything, and 3 words about things that you care about. So I guess I'm asking for 9 words, and this is not a test, this is just in the moment, just to give us a little bit of a sense of yourself. So I will start. I am Brenda. I'm here in Montreal, Canada, by the way. The very poor air quality here, which has now become such a thing for us here in the West. 3 words to describe me. I always prepare these, so because I'm too excited being here with you all. So 3 words on a personal level. I actually decided to share something that I haven't before. My 3 words, it's a couple more than 3. Grandchild of refugees, wounded child, and healing. So those are my 3 words, my 3 personal words. My professional words, I put less into it at the moment. I'm a writer, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a storyteller. And 3 things that I care about today in this moment are you, because I really do care about you, and I'm not kidding. Me, because I'm learning to care about me. And no waste. I don't want to waste a minute of my life. So who would like to go next? I see some of you are writing.
I'll jump in. I'm in Vancouver, BC. Care about planet, people, and parents. Quantified self, technology and science. And what's the 3rd category again?
So it's personal and professional.
Okay,
And
that covers it.
The third would be what do you love or care about?
The planet, people, and parents are the love and care about. The science, quantified self is the professional side, and the personal side, saving the planet. That's it.
We need you, Harendel. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who's next? Okay, Daniel.
I'll go for it. So for me, I'd say my personal words would be love, connection, and wonder. Are some of the areas that are just most critical for me. For professional words, I would say collaboration, community building, and positive impact. And for what I care about, all of the above. No, I would say potential, equitability, and crystallization. How do we concretize into the real a lot of the potential that's there?
Beautiful. Thank you, Daniel. Dr. Mill, the squid lady.
Okay, so personal, energetic, enthusiastic experimentalist, professional, creative problem solving, and care about all ages, all abilities, all cultures.
Beautiful.
And then I will pass it to Nick.
All right, I'm Nick. I'm here in the very middle of Vancouver. And I'll do 9 words that are all entwined: learning, healing, transformation, social, ecological, thriving, and dynamic embedding in community. And I'll pass that to, well, whoever wants to go next. I see Med. I'll pass whoever goes next.
Mehdi, my
Hey,
brother-in-law.
Brenda.
Mehdi.
Hi. So yes, I'm Ned's brother and Brenda's brother-in-law. I live in Montreal, and my personal words would be, I took the time to take notes here, so I would say compassionate. I'm intellectually curious, and I like to understand the links between things in general. My professional words would be deep learner, because I like to go on a tangent from my regular work, go in commando, incognito, and learn about something for weeks at a time, and then come up with ideas. So I would say I like to connect things also in my professional work and share and explain what I know so that we can bring whatever work we do to a higher level. And, for what I care about is my experience of time passing, the people that are close to me, and understanding more about myself and how I interact with others.
Beautiful. Thank you, Midzi.
Yeah.
Also, your microphone seems a little bit muted, if there's anything that you can do about it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, I mean, I hear
Yeah.
you, but like the treble is off completely. Thank you. So how about Tam?
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so 3 words: personal. I would say curious, philosophical, and thinker. So I think a lot. And if sometime at one point that I'm being silenced, just don't worry about that. I'm just processing a lot of things going on. Professional words: attentive, creative, and a better world of work. I work in career development as a career coach, so I deeply care about creating a better world of work for everyone. 3, about what you care. 3 words that you care. 3 things about what you, okay. I think, first of all, the social justice, it is really something that needed in the world of work and society right now. Second one would be human connections. you can see like they all connected with each other. But the third one, I would say the global sustainability. So those three that I care.
Thank you, Tam. So good to have you here. Melinda.
Hello, my first time on one of these calls. So happy to be here. So I have no preparation whatsoever for this exercise, and I may use more than 9 words, and they might not be in those categories. What I'm really caring about currently and lately, well, I guess all my life, I have a very, very deep sense of care for all the creatures of the earth, like all the beings that share the planet with us. Including the humans, but really extending to the non-humans. So just care for all our brethren creatures is a really big area for me. I also care really deeply about something that I'll use the word transformation, but what I mean is something like exploratory growth, and the evolution of what we can't predict that arises out of the systems that we're in. And in my personal life, I at this moment happen to be in a time of great transformation. So that word rings through several areas. That's geographical transformation, stage of life transformation. And in my work, I'm really a cultivator. I really am interested in cultivating cultures in organizations and workplaces and living places that bring something of the original thriving village that humans have the capacity to co-create and live in, that's very nurturing. So that's kind of where my head and heart are at right now.
You just lifted all the hairs up on my arm, Melinda. Thank you. Ned.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. So my 3 words for each category, starting with the personal. The personal would be curious, like many of you I see. I would say funny, and I would say sad. On a professional level, I would say synthesizers, music, and teaching. And what I care about, I would say, aside from Brenda and my brother, I would say life, history, and AI these days.
Thank you.
That's it.
Santosh, your first time.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. I'm happy to be here, meet you all guys. Yeah, so I'm from India. I live in Hyderabad. It's located in the south part of India. So 3 personal words about me. First thing is curious, like as you all told, curious. Second thing, I'm self-taught. I love figuring out myself. And third, I'm fast. Like I tend to be fast, like at whatever I do. Can be positive or negative, but fast. So yeah, regarding professional side, I'm a startup founder. I'm a tech guy, basically. And I'm into consciousness, spreading consciousness. And 3 things I mostly care about is peace, joy, and happiness. Not just mine, but every other people, especially startup founders.
Thank you, Santosh. So great to have you here. And just as a little aside, Santosh, I met Santosh. He's working with us at the village, and it's such a joy. Ihab.
Hello. My name is Ihab. I've been working on organizing something last night and today, and it's been a bit frustrating. So the 3 words that describe me right now are busy, frustrated, and not so focused. I'll skip the professional, but I'll say what I care about really is growth, learning, creativity, and organizing.
Thank you. And he means it. Thank you so much. Did I miss anybody? No, we're good. Okay, so let's move on to the topic. Before, I just want to share one line by a great late American poet, Mary Oliver, that I thought is a really good line to start any conversation about artificial intelligence, the present and the future. And that is, said the river, imagine everything you can imagine, then keep on going. Hopes and fears. I think I can speak for all of us. We're all thrilled, excited, and terrified by AI. And if you're not, please speak up. If you're not excited by it, that's okay too.
I'm not afraid of it. So.
You're not afraid of it. Okay, actually, you know what? Let's do a poll. How many people here are excited by AI? Okay. How many people? So Tam, you're not. Okay, good. How many, I mean, not good, but how many people are scared of AI?
I vote for all of the above. Not at all.
Okay.
Can we have an addition to the poll?
Scared, yeah, scared is a big word.
Okay.
Can we have an addition to the poll?
Yeah.
How many people are afraid of people with AI?
Well said.
How many people are afraid of people with AI? Thank you, Ned. You know, I was reading this morning and I took a line out of an article that I want to share with you at another time. And then the article said, not using the benefits of AI for the world seems immoral. And then something that I wrote this morning, what worries me is that we will get further and further away from ourselves and each other as we rely more and more on AI. Now that's just one of a vast majority of concerns that I have over AI. But I just wanted to share just a couple of things that seem to me, I mean, it's like, you know, the polarities of the amazing things that AI can do versus the incredible ways that the incredible potential for destruction on so many levels. So I think, you know, it's a huge topic. It's very general. We decided after doing a number of weeks of focusing on articles and videos as fuel for our conversation, we wanted to just make this nice and general. Who might like to share any thoughts about their excitement about AI and why?
I mean, I'll jump in and share one piece, and I'll share by way of context. The way that Dr. Nell and I know each other is from participating in an amazing Practical Utopias Fellowship, where it was all about, you know, without inventing any magic new technologies, where could we get to, you know, 15 years from now, where could we be, given human nature, given everything, and trying to really dig in around what that could look like in a range of different areas. We were doing this right before the real LLM explosion took off into the main scene. And I feel like so many of the things that we looked at and got really excited about in our group about what would be possible in the world just to make it a better place, that large language models are that magic wand that we weren't allowed to use when we were coming up with how things could be. The number of different ways that it can be applied to, and again, Tam, when you talk about the social justice side, I see that as being so critical on the nightmare and on the positive side. If we use this as a tool to decrease the gap in access to resources, access to justice, capacity for people and communities, the ways that it can help us with that are so profound. The ways that we can, and we've talked about before, but the meta crisis as this idea of the intertwined, incredibly gnarly, high stake things that we have to sort out and figure out and even understand how to frame and how to see what they are. the ability to synthesize, visualize, and connect us together to talk more about and understand what are the issues and what do we do with them in a way that's real and meaningful and effective. It feels like LLMs can have a great role within that as well. So that, I guess in the end, that piece of bringing people together, letting us get back into our humanity as much as possible, and to design our systems around that, and having a tool that can help flesh out the details a little bit, which we then can look at and say, yeah, not that, yes, that, this gives me an idea, maybe something over here, I think is pretty powerful.
Thanks, Daniel. And that's wonderful, but I can't help but think, wasn't that what the World Wide Web was supposed to be about originally?
And social media.
And social media. So what can we do now that's different? Have we learned? Would anybody like to add to that or move in another Tam? And then
Thank you, Daniel, for bringing that up. I think I want to be excited about that, about AI and the future that it can help with this social justice and all that. But at the same time, I'm also too deep in the past and the present of how AI is being developed and trained. There are so many vulnerable and underprivileged people being paid like $1 and $2 per hour just to train AI and develop the system right now. So it's just too painful for me sometimes to say like, oh, I'm so excited about AI and the development of AI. So I think excitement might be something in the future when that ethical AI is there and when we can try to find a way that develop in a more sustainable and support.
Beautiful. I can't help but want to call on Melinda. Do you have any thoughts around that, or no pressure?
So my excitement is very tiny, and it rests entirely in the hands of people like Daniel. So what I'm actually excited about is that there are other humans in the world who understand AI better than me, who are ethical, loving people committed to healing, and that I can come along with those people so that I can be less scared by what I perceive as the other hordes of people using it differently. I guess it's might be an oversimplification in how I say this, because I don't really have a practical what that would look like to back it up. But my guess is that like anything in the entire history of humanity that we've invented, the defining difference in what it's going to do for us is what we do inside of us before we use it or while we're using it. So as long as we are using AI or the web or social media or any other thing we've invented, including probably a hoe and a hammer, from a space in which we are deeply wounded, unhealed, not confronting our wounds, and going and externalizing massive systems like, for example, how money exists in the world, how neoliberal capitalism operates in the world, that are an externalization of our pain and disconnection, then those will always be the dominant, or at least very real ways in which the use of this new tool also comes to bite us collectively in the butt. And so for me, always it comes back to the inner work. And I imagine that there is a place in which we can do both at the same time, where we say, okay, we understand that there's all these dark possibilities that come from our woundedness. So let's carve out space to use AI and social media and Zoom and whatever else consciously in this process of healing ourselves and our relationship to others, so that the possibility exists that all those tools will be able to be used in a different future that comes from that healing. And like I said, I don't really have like, oh, well, what would that look like to back it up? But that's just what my gut says.
Can I jump in on that? Do you hear me
Please.
better? I totally agree with what Melinda just said, because for me, it's a bit hard to be emotionally engaged with AI because I work with it on a daily basis. This is what I do for work. I I try to implement it and educate people on how we could use it at my work. Not as much as a chatbot like people do, but as part of the software we are selling to our clients and using inside. So for me, since I was there also when the internet started, I remember having the same excitement, seeing the same possibilities of what we could do with it as a tool. So, but it doesn't mean that I'm not aware of the dangers that are associated with it, like what social networks did to us. And for me, it's a bit like the invention of television. When television came out, it created a lot of problems too. Like people got addicted to it, and then there was the issue of showing violence to people on a mass scale, and everything that comes with it. So for me, it's a bit hard to be emotionally engaged when it comes to AI. So the only thing I see is the possibilities and the good it can do and the good it already does to a lot of people because it gives access to knowledge. So yeah, I understand why people are nervous and afraid, but for me, it comes down to education. Same thing as we have to educate ourselves about the dangers of being too engaged in toxic discussions online. So
Thank you, Mehdi. Would anybody like to respond or add to that?
Nick, I see you've got your hand up.
Oh, sorry, Nick. Yes, I'm so sorry.
No worries. Yeah, I just quickly say I'm in the middle of a major life transition where I'm going back and I'm learning like calculus and things I was good at in high school and never continued with. And I'm really diving into understanding how deep learning models and work, and a bunch of learning. GPT-4 in the way I'm using it as a major dimension of how I'm learning is just unbelievable. I think it takes, people need to be educated on what it can and can't do, what you can and can't trust. Some prompt engineering techniques to know how to use it appropriately for learning. I think I put that time in, and it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Especially for me, as I really need active learning, and the fact that I can, as I wrap my head around a concept, I can say back to GPT-4, well, is this a good way to describe it? And it'll go, not exactly, this, and it'll find, I'll be like, okay, so what about this? And it'll be like, okay, now you're getting it. And at the end of the day, and then I go and I read a book or I start following a course and I realize, okay, this is really helping. And yeah, for excitement, learning, unbelievable what it means.
Okay, excitement. Any more excitement? Mel.
I am envisioning, I haven't gotten there yet, but I feel like your advice could help me get there even faster. That I've got an interface to the global brain that is levels above what we've got with Google search and things like that, where I can have a dialogue that has a history to it, that my AI is mine, and that I can ask it to do different things. So I've been using a ChatGPT and I've been using Google Bard, both with their limitations, and the UI is still so new and so clunky. I want it to be able to help me write something, and then I want it to take care of getting it from there into the actual email and completing the task. And I'm struggling with some of those things. But the idea that I have this tool that has enough personality to it. I mean, my car is a tool that is an inorganic but very beloved part of my life. She's my steed, she's my house. I'm van life. So she's my home office. To have an AI that represents my access to the global brain and the ability to draw from the massive amount that's out there beyond my own brain, in order to go after the problems I'm trying to solve. And I like big, complex global problems, like how do we solve mental health? Because it's a wreck around the world and it doesn't need to be. So in that space of enthusiasm, and I'm not that scared. I think one of the things that may I tell a short story about why I'm not that scared and see if it's useful to any of you?
Yep. Keep it short, but great.
Yeah, in May of 2019, I had a conversation with my daughter. She's graduating with a PhD from Cornell in artificial intelligence. The day before, we were having coffee and talking about the likelihood of a mass extinction event in our lifetime. This was May 2019. And I went back to the campsite where I was going to perform. I was going to do my silly stuff, but I was just a wreck. I was so aware of the amount of suffering that would be involved in a mass extinction event that I was just weeping and falling asleep, curled up in a ball. The following morning, I woke up and remembered that not one of us was alive 150 years ago. Not one of us is expecting to be alive 150 years from now. And that the rest of that is timing. So is AI going to change the nature of being a human and being alive on this planet? Sure. Is it going to wipe us all out in a sudden cataclysmic event? If humans have programmed it that way. But at the same time, I was able to release the need for humans to last forever because we won't. So there's part of that. And I'm excited to see what happens next and how this can help us get more done. And that's why I'm here today, especially.
Wow. Thank you for that. Very rich stuff. It reminds me, though, at the end of what Ihab said to me once, which was, he is an engineer. He never believed that humans were built to last. I just want to take a minute there and think about that.
Well, the fact that our brain is in a box that doesn't have any expansion possibilities, that's a defect, you know. That's a defect. That's what you call the planned obsolescence. Yes.
Right, but you're talking about us like individuals that we die, but we're talking about the whole human race going extinct.
Well, yeah, that can happen with, I'm sorry, but that can happen with a virus. No offense. You know, too much forest smoke. I mean, I don't know what are we going to be like in 10 years after 10 years of forest smoke? I don't know. Maybe it's not the AI we should be worried about. It's the forests.
Thank you, Ned. Harindel, did you want to say something there?
Sure. My excitement is AI as a tool. Back in the early days of the internet, back when Netscape Navigator.
Sorry, Harindel, your volume is very low. Is there anything?
That any better?
Yes.
Is that better?
Okay.
Yes.
Can you please repeat what you said?
Sure. Back in the early days of the internet, Netscape Navigator, there's a plugin for it that kind of had AI-like capabilities. And you could just say, go find me information on X, and it would go out and find these things, websites, and tell you where to go to find them. And I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. I haven't seen anything like that recently. I have a lot of interest in quantified self, so I collect a lot of biometric data, you know, heart rate variability, EKG, brain waves, all that sort of stuff. And I've always wondered how to put all these things together to get some answers out of it. And I think AI would be an ideal tool for that. Say, here's all the data sets I have. Take a look at this data from a date time point of view, and tell me what patterns show out through those sort of things. So for me, that's one of the big uses I want to see AI give me. The other piece is that I want a private AI so I can control my own data and keep it in my ownership. That's it.
Thank you. It's funny because that's the second mention of my own personal AI. I
got to write a hit tune this afternoon called My Personal AI. Come on.
Do it. So what I want to say about that is that the other day I saw an ad through what's the name of Virgin Airlines, I think it was, Richard Branson, right, billionaire. And it was all about Jennifer Lopez, very famous American singer and pop star. And so basically it's AI Jen, or Gen AI, so Jennifer Lopez AI. And she can, what's the word, customize a welcome for you. So, but customized. So she'll welcome you, she'll help you out, whatever. You will be able to interface with Jennifer Lopez through, if you're booking on Virgin Airlines. And I don't know, on the one hand, I was kind of fascinated because there she is. Is it her? Is it AI? Because they were playing around in the ad about who was it? Who was the real Jennifer? But it doesn't matter because she's coming to you. But I gotta say, I haven't stopped thinking about it. It makes me, in some ways, so scared that I can't even think. And I haven't been able to put it together. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, I would love to hear.
If I can jump in, for me, it's also a bit like when Photoshop came out and with the head swapping thing and morphing, and everybody was not accustomed to it, but at some point it became, I wouldn't say boring, but like,
yeah, we adapt and we move on. But the thing is, I mean, you compared the advent of television to what's happening now, and I understand at first the comparison, but it's unlike anything or any age, as far as I'm concerned, that we've ever dealt with. And the exponential rate at which this is moving is mind-blowing.
Yes, it's a major paradigm shift, and it will probably needs us to reconsider how we think about ourselves and how we think about the world. Because if anyone can write a book, what's the worth of books now? So the whole aspect of culture as being items of consumable like music, songs, and albums could become obsolete at some point, but it will force us to redefine how we express ourselves because of that tool, I think. Because what's the point if you can mimic the voice of anyone to be a singer and make money out of it, if you can generate 20 tunes and make an album out of it? So it will force us to rethink culture. And I think it's a good thing, because it will probably make everyone a bit more educated about a lot of things. And it's for me, I see it as a positive change, but it is a change, and I think it has the potential to every growth brings hurt, so.
Daniel, thank you, Midzi. Daniel, did you want to respond to Midzi?
There's a couple of risks that I definitely hear what you're saying, Midi. Both Midi and Harandel, what you were saying, and something that goes to that big piece of what direction do we go with large language models and these kinds of tools. But wouldn't it be great if, in the same way that academia is being challenged and that so many different faculty are saying it's wonderful the ways in which this makes us reassess the industrialized factory model of learning, and to really get back to what's learning about? What are we doing when we're doing learning?
Absolutely.
And how do we get to the heart of what that is? Wouldn't that be great if, top 10 songs, I could push a button and make 1 million of them. And if we said, hey, wait, oh yeah, music isn't about commodity. Music is about connection. It's about sitting on your front porch with people and singing the songs that are your songs together. If the ways that this gets used for exponential commodification and transactionism to the point of reductio ad absurdum gets to the point that it helps us wake up and remember some of the pieces that are like, oh yeah, these are the parts that actually feed me and fulfill me and bring joy. But the other part, and with what you were saying, Harandel, and this is whether it's with those kinds of biometric or telemetric data and the ways that AI can help us understand ourselves, to introspect and to bring that quantified and qualitative knowledge of self together. We were doing a bunch of digitization of files in our house, boxes and boxes of old files that, like, I don't need this CIBC piece or this receipt in my house anymore, but I like the data that's there. And thinking, wouldn't it be great? And how critical, again, it is to have a personal large language model where I don't have to worry about the privacy and security part of that, to have somewhere where I can feed all of that in. And it's not just storing it for me, but it's saying, based off of how you and your family are doing things and the trajectories that you're on and what you're interested in and passionate about, maybe here's 10 low-hanging fruit for how you could be saving a little bit of money, or here's some of the opportunities that are out there that are a perfect fit for what your son is really interested in. Did you know that this day camp is going on half an hour away that's exactly about the topic that he's passionate about right now, and those kind of pieces, and how critical it is for any of those things to happen in a functional way. That it be localized, that it be something where it's not me feeding all of that information into a Google, where guaranteed it's going to be used to monetize me and to adjust the content that I'm consuming in order to force me to consume or to increase the likelihood of my consuming more of the content that's desired for me to consume. So the final piece I'll say on all of that is it feels strongly to me that up until now, so many of the mechanisms that allow for large-scale thriving for individuals have been in the hands of people who either have organizational backing or have wealth. So again, having the kinds of things that allow for one to be looking at their finances, their health, their profession, all of these different components in a way that's effective, powerful, and facilitated. If you don't have organizational backing or wealth, you kind of have to figure all that out for yourself. And we're moving into a period where that may not be true anymore. And I'm fascinated to see where that goes in terms of the potential democratization that it allows for.
I love what you said, Daniel, especially some of the ideas around, tracking various patterns and so on in your life. What to me is more of interest is not only to have the AI help you find those patterns, but help you teach those patterns. You can see them yourself in life and get rid of the AI when you don't need it, unless you got a new, I think, to look into.
Yeah,
I have a question for the gang.
Yeah, Ned, please.
I have a question for you, bright people. So as far as I can tell, when it comes to technology, like, for example, social media, most of the very successful social media has been free for the user, or it feels that way for the user. But we all know there's been costs. Some of them are upfront, some of them are hidden costs, unintended costs, such as widespread depression amongst young women and more young men, because they can't compare to their peers on Instagram, etc. And I wonder, so as far as I can tell, there are going to be orders of magnitude of impressive, incredible, magical technology coming our way, even as we speak now. I mean, already I find it just unbelievable. Just things like outpainting, I find that to be such an incredibly fun and engaging and crazy technology. But I think there's going to be, obviously, there is already every day, and it's just going to keep getting faster and more and more and more. What's the price? What's the price going to be this time? And we talk about maybe making this as democratic as possible, making these magical tools more accessible to more people. Usually that involves money or advertising. So yeah, I just want us to think about that.
Thank you for that, Ned. In fact, I was just going to call on you, on your voice, as someone who is deeply excited and uses AI, but who is also deeply concerned. Santosh, I wonder if you have anything to say at this moment, as someone who is so excited about AI and who's someone who is very young and probably the youngest person here. How are you? What's your point of view?
Yeah, actually, I feel, actually, I don't feel anything about AI right now. For me, I feel it very normal. I don't feel it too much exciting. It's exciting, but I don't feel it much. And I'm also not much scared or afraid of it. I think I have no point of view right now. I think I'm just listening and watching. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't have any kind of conclusions or kind of thoughts on it. Just listening and watching about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're all dealing with, every day as it comes and all the new developments and all the new amazing things and terrible things. Ned, I'm going to invite you to speak a little bit more, because I know you dive so deeply into the concerns about AI, and wonder if you could talk a little bit more about that. Some more of your concerns.
I'll just give you an example. I watched an interview, I think it was the latest interview on the Lex Friedman podcast. And I forget the name of the guest, very interesting guy. Not your typical guest, but then he has all kinds of guests. So, and it's just this one thing that they spoke about, and it was about whether or not large language models, and especially the ones that you can chat with, like how is that any scarier in terms of, for example, allowing someone to build a bomb or a dirty bomb, or not a dirty bomb, but just a bomb or some kind of weapon, allowing them to build that. And the guest was basically saying, well, you could do that with the internet right now. And Lex was retorted that, yeah, but it would be work to do that. It would be, you'd have to actually put it together and follow directions and so on and so forth. And the guest kind of laughed it off. But it stayed with me because, as most of you who have used these chatbots know, they're getting so sophisticated that they can walk you through like you were, in fact, you can just say, please teach me how to make a bomb like I'm a 5-year-old. And you don't even have to look at the screen. You just have to say what ingredients, go to the store, come home, say, here I am, now tell me what's step one. You don't even have to watch, just say out loud. Tell me what's step one. Okay, step one is do this. Okay, have you done it? Yes. Can you look at it? I mean, we're getting into multinodal technology now, so they'll be able to, the AI will be able to look through the webcam of the phone and look at what the person's done and make comments on it, like a parent would to a child. So I think that the barrier to doing harm, the guardrails are falling. So that's what has me concerned, is just that the genie is out of the bottle, and yeah, and it's a scary time. I understand why. I understand the benefits of things like open source. I understand the benefits. I understand the benefits of no guardrails. I understand that for growth, they say. But, the Roman Empire killed a lot of people for growth. A lot of people have been laid off for growth. So when I hear that we have to do away with guardrails because it encumbers growth, I think, what kind of growth?
I think they want guardrails, right?
I'm sorry?
I think they actually want guardrails.
It depends on who you mean. Some people say they want guardrails, but behind closed doors, when they're actually doing things, they're not using guardrails. Yeah.
Does anybody have anything to add or any questions to raise about guardrails? Tam.
Or Tam, something else.
Sorry, Tam? Yeah.
Okay, so Danielle's saying something. Is that okay that I chime in?
Yeah, no, I was just saying it doesn't have to be about guardrails. It looked like you had something interesting to say.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No, I was just thinking about Brenda's example about the Virgin Airlines and what Ned mentioned before about we should be scared of how people use AI rather than what AI can do and can't do. One of the example that I can think of in Brenda's example is that what if people with power, they're going to use the interface with Jennifer in order to threaten the working conditions of flight attendants or with the people working for the airline itself, maybe like lower their wages or try to change the way that they work because now AI can do their work. So that is my concern of like how people of power with power is going to use it to threaten union, to threaten the working conditions of underprivileged people. We already have the example of, I think, the protest of writers in the US. And it is right after the AI, that the fear AI can write better than those writers eventually put the negotiation power on the employers rather than employees in that case. And then it hurt the union and the writers so much in that case that they have to go to the protest. So now the whole thing, back to what Brenda and Nat mentioned about the fear, is really how people take advantage of our excitement and our fear to go back and harm humanity and other people. So I think that is just my thought right now with the question that Ned and Brenda had.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's really hard to answer because if you look at when the computer was invented and you had lawyer firms that would have like 25 secretaries that would make copies of letters, and then you come up with a computer. I mean, what do? Is it the fault of the company, or is it because the technology exists now? When I think about that, I also wonder, that a lot of jobs will be lost, but what kind of job are going to be lost? Like who's? I don't know. The fact that these things will happen will create other opportunities. Like for example, if the web didn't exist when I was growing up, I don't know if I would have become, I couldn't have the kind of career that I have right now. I would probably ended up, I don't know, like working at a very low wage because there was no opportunity for me to learn by myself and then find a passion about making websites and making money out of it. And now I'm so grateful for it. So it's hard for me to not see the positive, even though it comes at the price of growth pain. But I do understand that the kind of jobs that can be lost now are different than the kind of job that could be lost when the internet came out or when the computer came out, because now it touches upon human creativity. I mean, basically, a lot of what defines us as human is the story we make of ourselves, as a species or as an individual. And this is why this is such a big paradigm shift, because it challenges these notions of what makes us what we are and what we consume. It's part of culture.
Thank you, Mehdi. Mel, did you want to say something?
Yeah, riffing off of Mehdi, what you were just talking about, the language of job loss and, oh no, this is going to take jobs away, reminds me of so many previous technological advances. Like, what's going to happen to the librarians now that the internet is out? What's going to happen to the typists now that people can type their own documents? And this piece of job loss, I keep coming back to a basic concept of we each have 168 hours a week. What we do with that time, so scrape 68 off the front as sleep and hygiene and so on. We have 100 hours a week that we're doing something, and that we can trade our time for some value of money in exchange for that time if what we're doing with our time is useful. The pandemic gave us a really clear shot at what are the essential skills that are always going to be needed in between the healthcare and the delivery services and the people who can keep things running, whose jobs mattered even as the rest of the people were being locked down. the idea that we have the flexibility to choose work that we enjoy. As a creative, I just got another set of tools. And to be able to incorporate those tools, I can still get out a canvas and a paintbrush. I can still get out a pen and paper. But in the same way I've been using a calculator to do my math instead of pen and paper, it for me feels like, okay, so the people who liked the stability of not having to change their tools, I think that's the most disruptive part for them. It's psychologically, is what do you mean my writing has to change? What do you mean I have to learn a new set of skills for creating good prompts? But I look at it as opportunity for job retraining, and what do you want to do next, instead of the people who are losing their jobs have nothing. It's like, well, then reallocate how you're spending your time so that you can find a new source of income or adapt. So there's my 10 cents on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Riffing briefly, but I think on some of the pieces, Tam, you also were talking about, I'm really curious to see, because I mean, it's really easy to see the ways that around the employment side, this empowers corporations, and that while it's true that people can retrain or move into the different fields, and that's how a lot of society evolves, if that's done in a way that empowers corporations to marginalize and disempower their workers in bargaining for something that's fair, then that's a challenge. What I'm really curious to see is how can some of these tools be used to facilitate, augment, deepen, and improve collective action? And whether you're thinking about that from a strictly employment place or from other aspects as well. The more you're able to have a group of people get together and say, actually, here's what our goals are, here's what our values are, here's what our needs are. So maybe here's how we're handling our purchases, here's how we're looking at those in a different way, and in a way that doesn't become harder. The more it becomes an easy thing for people to be putting their time and their money and their energy into things that are aligned with their values and with how long-term we can make things work. My hope is that can provide a little bit of a counterbalance to some of the readily obvious ways that this empowers corporations or other large organizations in a way that can be disadvantageous to individuals.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. And that is circle back to like how we can make organizational development more healthy and more caring and all of that, so that we can create that kind of ideal situation that we use AI for.
Thank you, Tam. Now I'd like to move over to Melinda, because I'm thinking here we are in the West. We're not all from the West, but most of what we're saying seems to me a Western point of view. How might this be in the continent of Africa?
Right.
Like what?
Yeah.
Like, what
So
do we, we're all in our own, I must say, I'm feeling some despair at this moment, because while I am absolutely excited, I mean, as a filmmaker, there's some stuff with AI that is, I don't even want to talk about it. It's so exciting to me. However, wow, Melinda?
So, yeah, my brain and heart often go to like big, long arc of history and what does it mean to be human questions. And I'm just going to park those for a second and say that at some point in this conversation or another one, I'd like to come back to where I'm going with that. But in terms of the response of like, and I'm not speaking for Africa, the continent. I have lived and worked in mostly Kenya and some other parts of Africa for 15 years, and I'm married into an African family, and it's been very meaningful and important to me, both in my work and my personal life, to explore how African cultures see the world, see being human. It's definitely scraped off many layers of ignorance in me, and also widened my eyes to different ways of experiencing things. And right now, in this moment, on this very day, it's interesting that you're asking that question, because Kenya is, as well as having many marginalized people who have access to just about nothing and are being essentially monetized against their will into a system in which they have zero power of any kind and are totally being steamrolled. And I'm not exaggerating. It's also a hub of innovation, digitization, and modernization that is astounding. I mean, there's still corruption, there's still inequality, there's still the horror of like neoliberal development and all that stuff. But at the same time, this is a country that is leapfrogging stages of like painful, really cumbersome headaches that it inherited from its colonizers, and just going, no, we're going to do it differently. So like citizen services are now all completely digitized, and I'm astounded at what a good job this country is doing of actually bringing people in and onto the use of those platforms, people who don't even own a smartphone, and like finding ways to actually devolve this down and get people into these much more modern digital systems. They're not at the level of AI yet, but the level of innovation in that whole space that's happening right here in Nairobi is so amazing, and so many young Kenyans are on board with it. And these are like, when I first came here, I was working with youth groups in slums, and these are people who like own almost nothing, but if they get access to a smartphone, the things that they can teach themselves to do with that, and then teach each other, and how they share that tool is extraordinary. I have been floored for all the 15 years that I've lived and worked here at what I see people doing when they get a chance. And today, one of my colleagues came to me and he said, I would like, we adopted an ERP a year and a half ago, and it was really painful getting onto it. And I think we still only use 50% of its actual potential. But what he said is, even at using 50% of its potential, we have eliminated so much waste and headache that my eyes are open, and I want to be the champion for this organization for bringing new systems and better ways of using those systems to other areas of our organization, because I think the potential is huge. This comes on the back of a conversation we just had with a brand new startup run by very young Kenyans who worked their way through the agriculture development space, gaining enormous credibility for writing really great grant proposals and then managing them really well, and have now started their own company using AI in very specific ways to build capacity of nonprofits, startups, and development SMEs to fundraise, and then responsibly use funds in a way that builds their track record. And these guys are on fire. Like, they've already hired a group of younger people than them who they're training, and they come in and they're not smooth talkers. They're not just hot air. I talked to every single client that they've worked with, and basically these are just like young, bright, self-taught people who have the practical know-how about what a development organization in the agriculture space actually does, what the problems are, what the funders want to fund, and how they speak and think. And they are using their own wits and guts and intelligence plus AI to bridge that gap, and then build the capacity of all these little organizations that have great visions and no capacity to get funding and then implement it. And it's just like, I don't know, like when I hear stuff like that coming from young people, young Kenyans who grew up with just about nothing, but have got just enough access to play in this space, it heals a lot of the fear and anxiety and pain that I have. Because I think, again, it just comes back to like, well, who are the people using it? And what are they doing with it? And that's really where the power is going to be. And it's, in some ways, yes, it's very different. It's exponential. It's like we're at peak crazy of what being human means and looks like. But on the other level, it's not different from even the time that we started agriculture or made a hammer for the first time, because it's just it's a continuation and an expansion of what it's always meant to be, exploring what it means to be human. And as long as there's room for revolutionary, amazing, free, young, vibrant people of the leading edge generation to come and define for themselves what they're going to use these systems for, then I have hope. And in terms of like what I heard guardrails, I'll just tell you right up front, like I am the least tech savvy person in this room and possibly in this whole country and world. Like I don't know anything about anything. I hear things and I'm like, oh, that's okay, that's interesting. But I'm like, I believe I believe in the potential for humans to be our best selves. And so like when I follow along these conversations, I always fall back to the place of like, well, who are the humans doing it? And there's always been success stories, even in our small window of human history, of our worst collective self being oppressive and damaging and mean and extractive, and then small groups of people going, okay, I can't fight you at the level of your bombs and guns, but I can carve out a little bit of space and play with the same tools you're playing with and envision something different. And then lots and lots of people come around and go, that looks a lot better. Let's go over there. And I think that's always possible. It's not guaranteed. And when I hear the word guardrails, the word that comes to me is elders. And I come back again to this idea that we as human beings, yeah, we've clearly lost a lot of our deep original wisdom that maybe came from our more basic selves when we were small discrete groups who had very clear ways of living that were like this. And we had elders who told us how to do that. And now we don't know how to do that anymore. So we're kind of scared. We've scared ourselves. And maybe there's not enough eldering going on around stuff like how we use AI, but that doesn't mean we couldn't get back there. And it wouldn't even have to happen through conscious effort and will and project planning. It could just be that the best self of like that guy who came to me today in my organization comes forward with an open heart, seeing a way to use something. One day he'll be an elder if the path allows it, if enough souls come together to make that possible. And then he would be an elder of how Kenyans use AI in the development space. So that that's a long ramble, and I hope it made sense.
Did it? Thumbs up, man. I gotta tell you, my heart has been sinking and you just lifted me, Melinda. And then sometimes I think about this group and I say, what the fuck is this group, right? What are we? Daniel and I talked about at the beginning. We don't actually know. We want to bring concerned, caring humans together to explore this wild new world that is happening and growing exponentially. Thank you for that. That was absolutely gorgeous. And I, because I know Santosh a little bit, I know that Santosh is that person you are talking about, is that young person in a third world country growing and doing terrific things. Santosh, I don't know, not to force you, but do you have anything to say to what Melinda was talking about and how you feel about as a young person wanting to change the world in good ways?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think in India, like this situation is not like Kenya. I mean, since my childhood, I do have access to all the internet and stuff, so, for me, it's very easy to access all those things, right? And, as I told in the beginning about me, I'm self-taught. I don't want to go to college. And, I started learning the tech and all, by myself, because, with this tech, because I have a smartphone in my hand and I have access to internet. Yeah. So I think in most of the countries in Africa, I think there's a huge potential in the youth, with this tech enabling. Yeah.
Thank you, Santosh. Yeah, and that's amazing to me because Santosh is completely self-taught. So is Mehdi, is completely self-taught.
Computers were like a big part of that too.
Yes, having access to technology. Yes. Tam, do you have any comment to make on any of this? Coming from a country outside of North America?
Well, I don't have a full access until I was, I think, 15 years old. So the transition between that world and the world today is tremendous. And it's really support the growth of young people, like you mentioned. But I think what really helped me along the way is not only the technology and the access to technology, definitely is the big part of it, but a way of like how we can educate young people to have a better lens to look at the world, like through, for example, if we can somehow educate them about like sustainability or some like social justice or all the meaningful projects out there trying to solve the problem in the world. Once they understand that and then they connect with their personality, their aptitude, then they will turn into like meaningful contribution into the world. So like the two pieces, like the inner exploration and the outer exploration, I would say. Also from the career development perspective as well, when we try to guide students and young people, the question is going to be like, how would you like to see yourself in the world, right? So it has to be from both sides. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, guys, our time is winding up for today. I'd love to ask Daniel, actually, if you would do a quick summary of today for us.
I don't know if it'll be a summary, but one thing that I'll definitely say is I'm hearing a lot of pieces around the uses of the utility and the excitement and not just fear, and especially not just sort of lizard brain fear, but of deep nuanced concern around the negative possibilities and implications of this technology, ranging from, as Tam mentioned near the beginning, ranging from like how it gets trained and the ethics around how some of that works, down to what we use it for and what it does. Lots of perspective around and feeling around that piece of how does it empower individuals versus how does it empower groups, for better or for worse. I don't want to over try to characterize. I don't know if I can summarize very well, but today, but yeah, just a huge range of pieces around some of that. I'll also mention that we do have starting. It started yesterday. Another spin-off coming from the AI&Us group, which is a working group, which is people who are coming together specifically to dig in and to work on looking at the ethics and the policy side of things, looking at the systems of, when we talk about having a localized large language model where you don't have to worry about privacy and security, trying to come to a really good understanding of exactly what's needed for that, for different kinds of use cases, so that people can empower themselves to do that more easily. And then looking at applications and use cases, and especially at open sourcing those, so that we make it as easy as possible for people, again, to empower themselves through AI and to have dialogue about what does that even mean, what does it look like, and how should we be doing it. So again, just huge gratitude for this community coming together, for each of you bringing everything that you do to the table. And I know that we're only touching the tip of the iceberg of what each of you is bringing. And I'm looking forward to exploring that all further.
Thank you. Sometimes it feels, beautifully done, Daniel. Sometimes it feels like we are this is just exploration into all of what's happening. And sometimes it feels like a think tank, and sometimes it feels like a support group. So take what you will. If you have any ideas for topics, please send them to us. I heard an amazing podcast recently on the On Being with Krista Tippett. She was interviewing Dr. Vivek Murthy, the US Surgeon General. And I pulled a quote here, and I think we're going to, maybe in 2 weeks, we'll do this, if not in a month. He said, what are we doing to cultivate love in our societies, schools, families? We have to give people permission to prioritize love. It's the backbone of good policies, programs, and a strong society. And I myself feel the deep need to dig in more into what we can do to respond to some of the concerns, Melinda, that you had at the beginning, some of all of our concerns. It's like the human beings behind the AI. What are we doing to be better? And how then can we translate this to AI? Because AI is taking our lead. Yes, Mel.
Okay, so one of my reasons for coming today was that you guys, having been focused on this area, I am looking at my learning curves and would love to know which AI tools, which URLs should I go toward, because I'm hitting that wall of Google Bard is only capable of this much. Text generators, what's the best out there for helping me get my texts better and current, as opposed to having that 2021 cutoff. And if you guys don't mind dumping URLs and tips in the chat before we go, any version of here are the tools that you've been spending time with that you like would be really, I'd be grateful for that.
At 7 Carnegie? Or did you want to say something? I just saw it. Okay, so there's Santosh wrote to you synthesia, and then GPT-4, Nick said, right? Yeah. Anybody else have anything to add to that? Any other topic ideas before we sign off?
One thing that we'll also do is I'll send out today to all of the group, just it's an invite to, we have a Thamazo Slack server that has a couple of channels for AI&Us, and people are welcome to email. It's a great place to ask some of those questions, and we can together on those pieces, as well as just seeing how as a community do we want to engage with each other, you know, outside of we have the working group and we have the calls, but what does that look like for different people?
Hey, thanks, Daniel. Also, there is going to be in Vancouver, there's going to be a in real life AI&Us event on July 19th, is it? Or am I thinking?
There's going to be something on July 28th, and we're still figuring out exactly how we're putting that one together. But yes, if people are interested, then definitely let us know.
Okay.
I have a suggestion topic.
Yes.
AI at the beach.
Interesting.
I appreciate the lightheartedness of that suggestion. Thank you. Thank you, guys. And may I say that this is the most women, the female gender that we have had since we started this. And what a pleasure it has been, and it feels for me anyways, like deep balance. Yes, yes. Yeah, let's keep it up. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful
Bye, everyone.
afternoon,
Bye.
evening, weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Yeah, bye.
Bye. Thanks, Santosh. Bye. Mel,
And Daniel, if you have time to talk more on my Zoom or yours, would be great.
I probably can at some point. I'll check in briefly with Brenda now, and then I have to dash off to get my son from a sleepover he's been at.
Got it.
We have a proposal that we have to get put in for one of the UBC things by end of day, so I'm crunching on that. But let's at least try to check in a little bit, because I'd love to.
Yeah, I need to figure out which day I'm arriving in Vancouver. The event starts on the 20th, and right now it's just me doing it.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
So we'll talk
Okay.
as soon as you're ready.
Mel, what a joy to have you here. What a joy.
Thank you.
I hope you come back.
It's in conflict with the schedule that I have every week, so I have to choose either the meeting that I'm running or this, unless it's at a different time. Okay. But I'm very happy to see you, and Brenda, I'll see you on Slack as well.
Wonderful.
All right. Bye, guys.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And great to see you again, Seven. It's always
yeah, have we stopped recording?
There's a record.
Yes. Oh yes, of course. Yeah.